Welcome back to Beast Wars Wednesday. I'm your host, Predacon Paul.
And I'm your host, Decepticon Doug.
We're on Season 3, ladies and gentlemen.
We have reset the time stream. We got Beast Wars Wednesday back from Santa. And we are no longer in purgatory playing video games.
Nope.
All you have to do is, press a little reset button. Everything's A-okay.
Today's episode is called Beast Wars, the toy commercial.
It is called Optimal Situation.
The optimal toy commercial. So where did we last leave off, Doug?
Where we last left off.
Sorry. I'm a little out of practice. So where did we last leave off, Decepticon Doug?
Well, Paul.
You did it too. I'm very disappointed in you. Well, Decepticon Doug, tell us. Tell me. Where did we leave off last?
Well, Predacon Paul, thanks for asking. I'll tell you where. Megatron found the Ark, which was the old Autobot ship, and he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to blast Optimus Prime in the face. Suddenly there's a huge time storm, and it's eating up the universe, and that's not good. So here we are, with the time storm going on. Megatron is laughing his head off. He's like, I'm so
evil.
I'm so good at this evil stuff. But you know who is not interested in being destroyed? Black Arachnia. So she says, hey, Teletran 1, turn on. And then the shield turns on, launches Megatron off, and she's like...
That's exactly what she did.
Yeah.
Those like weird little leg things of hers.
Yes, yeah. Silverbolt's like, hey, Black Arachnia, my love, my snuggly wuggly bear.
That's her favorite thing to be called.
Don't worry, I'll protect you from whatever this is. And she's like, Silverbolt, I love you, but you're dumb.
Kind of an idiot. You can't protect someone from time.
She's like, let's go fix Optimus.
Yeah.
Prime. Optimus Prime.
We have to make that distinction.
They plug in a little fixer-upper doohickey into Optimus Prime's shoulder, and it starts fixing him enough that the time stream kind of stops, and then Optimus Primal and his crew stop going, whoa, just long enough that they're able to come in there and see what's gone down. And they're like, oh, nuts. Oh, phooey. Look what happened here. Who made this big mess?
Who made this big mess?
It was Megatron.
It was Megatron.
Megatron made that big mess.
And then Megatron's like, you know what? I should call all my troops since I've got so many of them and they weren't destroyed in the last episode.
So he picks up the phone.
It's this actual phone that he used.
Yeah, this very phone. Hello, is this Waspinator? Can you put your head back on? Thank you. Hey, is this Inferno? Wow, am I ever impressed that you're still alive. Cool, you want to come to that cave I talked about earlier? Yeah.
And somewhere at some place, Tarantulas is being put back together by his stupid little spider drones. Yet they don't put Ravage back together.
No, clearly they're very devoted to Tarantulas. In fact, one of them, I almost feel like it was a little spiteful, just did a little dink, and threw Ravage's head right off the cliff, just to make sure. They're trying to fix Optimus Prime, but the little what's it called? Repairtron? Something like that? Isn't good enough. Reality is still a little bit unstable. They're just back to their futuring. They're like, sometimes they'll phase it out. They're like, whoa. So they need to do some more imminent repairs. Optimus Prime's spark could fade in that amount of time. Optimus Primal's solution is, okay guys, I'm just going to take the spark, put it in me, because that'll do the trick, right?
Should have put it in Rat Trap.
Oh, for booting our call!
That'd be awesome.
Primal takes the Matrix of Leadership out of Prime's chest and opens up his chest. You can see his spark. And then they go... And Primal flies back. He's like, wow!
And then hits a box on his way.
Ooh, wow. And then they get to work fixing Prime's head. Primal is having some issues.
Gut ache.
Yeah, he's
I
got
shouldn't have eaten that last spark. He's got gas.
Black Arachnia slips out because she's like, hey, things are being fixed. Time storm is subsiding.
I'm no longer needed.
Optimus is finishing his grunting and groaning, and he stands up and he's like, guess who's really big and really shiny? And everyone's like, woo!
Oh my goodness.
But Megatron comes in and he's like, hey, guess what? I'm still here and I'm real mad about being Megatron.
And we're gonna shoot things.
And then Optimus is like, don't do that. It makes me mad. And now I'm bigger than you.
He says, stop right now. Thank you very much.
I need somebody with a Cybertronian touch. Megatron's just like, Waspinator, cover fire. And then Waspinator cover fires, and then he flies out of there, And Optimus is like, let's go. Let me show you all my modes. Now I'm a gorilla. Ba-ding, ba-ding, ba-ding. And now I'm a jet. Woo! And now I'm a tank.
For no reason.
They had to show all the modes.
But like, why did he turn into the tank? Just stay as the friggin' jet anyways.
You had to. When you have a new body, you gotta show off all it can do. It's the rules of Transformers. You know, you don't necessarily need to fly. You just gotta show off that you can. Megatron sees Black Arachnia and he's like, hey, I know what you did.
We're no longer friends. Your membership card to the Predacon juice bar.
Ooh.
And you were like 2 stamps away from getting a free smoothie.
Damn. Those are good smoothies too. Mm-hmm. And they taste better when they're free, as so many things do. Mm-hmm. And he shoots her. Peace. Flies away. Optimus comes out and he's like, I'm gonna chase him even more. Whoosh.
And he chases him even more.
Silverbolt comes out and he sees Black Arachnia in the state that she's in. No! I love you too much, don't die.
Please be a Maximal, if only for a minute.
She's like, I will not be Maximal, but you know what? I'll be on your side. I'm dead.
Exactly like that.
Silverbolt grieves as she passes away in his arms.
Into stasis lock.
Oh, Silverbolt, you goofy puppy. You big old silly puppy dog.
Drama queen.
She's not dead. She's just taking a little nap.
Nothing some tassels can't fix.
Yeah, hey, trust me, if Inferno can survive being completely vaporized, Black Arachnia can survive a point-blank range shot to her face.
Arm,
I don't know.
shoulder?
It didn't show where he shot her, but he shot her. So Cheetor and Optimus are in pursuit. They take out Waspinator first, as usual. Take down Inferno because Inferno's molecular structure is barely holding together as it is. Even Megatron gets swatted down.
He gets his arm thing tail taken off and then shoved in his rotor blade. And then Megatron's like, "Now, Rampage!" Yes.
And Rampage
And a bunch of spider things. They all decide that they're going to attach themselves to the Axelon and attempt to drag her off her stick thingies.
Optimal Optimus flies by, cuts to all these ropes. He's like, you're not pulling over my base, Rampage. Optimus punches him.
And then he goes flying back and he's like,
We should all know not to like push Rampage back, because every time you push him back, he shoots something.
Yeah.
That's like that's his natural reflex. Is like, get shoved.
Yeah. And then Optimus, in this very dramatic, very intense scene, sees the missile, looks down, ting, gets hit, and then knocks out.
And then the missile flies right into the Axelon, making the rocks under it crumble, and it starts to fall and break. The whole front section rips clean off, and then the back section topples over, falls down the waterfall into the water, makes a big sploosh.
I remember seeing that scene as a kid, and just like my instinct was to scream out, "No!" Just like Optimus. So then Optimus goes back to the base, they salvage whatever they can, Optimus gets his spark back, and then we're all good. The end.
But let's not forget to mention this beautiful moment where Optimal Optimus and Optimus Prime make eye contact and they kiss passionately.
Oh, it's so passionate.
And like, all the Maximals have to kind of like turn away and be like, okay, all right, sure thing, dude. They got intimate in a way that we'll never understand.
Their hearts touched.
And then Optimus Prime just rolls over and goes back to sleep. Mm-hmm. Classic men, right?
Can't talk. Sleeping. For another 4 million years.
Optimus is like, well, let's get what we can from the Axelon and set up shop here because Megatron's just going to keep coming back.
And they're moving in, apparently.
That is optimal situation.
What worked for you, Decepticon Doug?
Well, thanks for asking, Predacon Paul. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Decepticon Doug.
I think it was a pretty clever way to fix the situation.
Very clever. Please explain how clever.
Considering they weren't actually sure if they were going to like pick up the show for the third season when they wrote that huge cliffhanger.
What cliffhanger is that?
That's one where the universe was being destroyed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Time itself.
Yeah, time itself. Like, they really wrote themselves into a hell of a place to try and get out of. And they actually did a pretty good job getting out of it that felt natural. Like, it actually felt as if they were utilizing the tools that they had brought forward already. So there's some shows where there's a cliffhanger and you can tell they didn't know how to like get themselves up off that cliff edge. Where this time it did feel like it. It's short because it's only one parter, but it does feel like they managed to accomplish a lot in setting the stage for what season 3 is going to be, for better or for worse. What did you like?
I think seeing Optimus Prime was really cool. The way they handled that, the way he was conscious and had like a connection with Optimus Primal for like a split second, I thought that was magical. One thing that I really, really liked was the business between Silverbolt and Black Arachnia. They're no longer hiding it. It's come to this point now. I can grieve for you even though you're dying, and everyone's just kind of like ribbing him a bit because she's just in stasis lock. What was a point of contention between him and Optimus before now is something that he doesn't have to hide or be ashamed of. I am with Black Arachnia and she's now with us. I like that. But I'm going to be honest with you, there's not really much about this episode that stands out to me as outstanding.
I'll concede that it doesn't feel as big as like Aftermath did when it was starting up season 2. Mm-hmm. Aftermath, there was this sort of like real heaviness and gravitas to just like the mood of it, and I feel like that mood isn't really there in Optimal Situation.
They made some concessions or sacrifices for the sake of showcasing Optimus and his abilities. Like, we know Optimus' story. We know him. So we didn't need an episode to feature him.
Yeah, but it was more to feature the body. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, so I see. So there's no interesting character stuff. Yeah, you're right, actually, because it is just showcasing the toy, not the character. Yeah, this episode is kind of basically a toy commercial for Optimal Optimus. Mm-hmm. They wanted you to buy the real big, juicy toy.
You had the juicy toy. I had the...
I never had Optimal Optimus.
Oh, you never did?
No.
My brother did.
I never had any Optimus Primal.
Really?
Yeah.
In this story, the stakes were so high because the time stream and everything was being destroyed that things had to happen quickly. But I still feel like they could have done it better. I mean, Megatron, for instance, he went from being this really interesting, methodical megalomaniac at the end of the agenda, and in this one, all of his genius and all of his planning was just sort of like swept aside, and he just became this bumbling idiot.
I think destroying Prime was his like last resort. So that was like all of his planning, all his scheming, all he had gotten ever that far. That plan's been undone, essentially. And so in a sense, I guess he is scrambling. He's like, well, I don't know what to do now. I guess I'll take a pot shot where I can and destroy the maximal base because it's unguarded. That is one of the strongest parts of the episode, is the downing of the Axelon and how it does have like emotional impact. And it's like, oh man, you feel some loss. You feel like it is a character who's died.
Yeah, any good representation of like a ship in a TV show, the ship itself should be an additional character. Like in Star Trek, the Enterprise is, it's the Enterprise. Firefly, Joss Whedon goes into detail about like why he chose the ship to look the way she looked and how the ship itself has its own like identity.
And I feel like it's totally the case with the Axelon, because there's some running jokes that happened with it, because like they kept breaking like certain doors and they kept flipping the table over. It did become really part of the crew. And
like lots of episodes centered around the Axelon when they lost their
rectifier coil.
And also Better Mousetrap.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a pretty successful part of the episode, is to feel the loss of the Axelon. And they did give it its due time to like really emphasize it falling and breaking, and an Optimus like lamenting over it, and
even though he couldn't fit in her anymore.
A part of me thinks that's maybe why they did it, is that they now know it's like, well, like we have to have Optimal Optimus, and he can't fit in the Axelon. So what are we gonna do? We gotta get rid of the Axelon.
That's actually like for Optimus, that'd be really huge, seeing his ship go down like that, because it's his ship, right?
He's the captain.
Yeah, like every captain has like a very specific, like very strong relationship with their ship.
What I do also like, though, at least the Optimal Optimus, like him becoming Optimal Optimus, isn't completely out of nowhere. Like, it does make sense in the lore of Transformers. Every time a character has the matrix of leadership and becomes a Prime, they do grow and they become... A Hot Rod grabs the thing, and then when he becomes Optimus Prime, he grows and he becomes a Hot Rod truck of some sort. It's kind of consistent with Transformers, and I do kind of appreciate that. It wasn't just something that was pulled out of nowhere to try and accommodate a toy. They're working with the groundwork that was done for them. So, again, a little bit clever. One of my issues, though, with Optimal Optimus, and now we'll talk about things that didn't work for us, if that's cool with you. Predacon Paul.
Let's do it.
He's overpowered to the point where I'm like, maybe he should just go attack the Predacon base. he was able to just like swat away Rampage.
As cool as those shoulder cannon things are, I don't like them.
Which one's the one that come out of there?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just huge nipples sticking out. I'm not a big fan of those ones either. He's always got some kind of thing that comes out in front, like some kind of dual cannon. This is easily the weakest of them.
The Interceptor was probably my favorite.
I really like them too. Some of the Predacons that were dispatched with in the last couple episodes are just back like that. I feel like most unjustly is Inferno. Why is Inferno alive? He was vaporized.
You saw his body shatter into pieces, and then those pieces get turned into dust. And he went out with such a blaze of glory, like...
That was the thing, is that it felt like it was a really good...
send-off.
Like there's a bit of a character arc that led up to it. In that Inferno was like Megatron's right-hand man. Megatron recruited Rampage. Inferno was like, oh, I'm no longer his right-hand man, even though he's more loyal than Rampage. Rampage is only loyal because Megatron's got his spark in a vice. And in the end, he literally gives his life for Megatron's agenda for no reason almost. But it felt like the right character move for Inferno, for like the best way to like close his story, is that he just gave it all.
Obviously, Megatron didn't appreciate it.
No, Megatron barely said anything about it.
Was it just lazy writing?
I wonder what it was that made them decide, because to me, it did feel like when they killed Inferno, that was supposed to be the end of him.
There was an air of finality to the way he went out. It was almost heroic in a way.
Heroic in his own way, in his twisted sort of Predacon way. So I wonder what it was that made them make the decision to just like kind of retcon it and go like,
don't worry, nobody dies in this story. They just get really big boo-boos.
I'll give them props. They really made him look like he was in rough shape.
Yeah.
Like they really did. Tarantulas is another puzzling one because, like, I didn't feel like his story was over.
I don't think he should have been able to piece himself back together again. Then he's all like, yeah, at the end of the episode.
If you want to keep him around, don't kill him off in such an intense way. Throwing bombs like right on him that destroy a starship. It shouldn't be too hard in a battle like that to just like dispatch with Tarantulas in a different way. I'm kind of glad they didn't kill him because I do feel like he had so little screen time in the agenda that it really wasn't satisfying.
I honestly don't think Rampage should have been put back together. He got hit by the missile.
Yeah, but I do feel like it's pretty well established that he's pretty resilient.
You can be resilient, but if small arms fire can stop you, a missile designed to blow up the Axelon is going to do a lot more.
Yeah, I know. You see, I'm of two minds of it as well because I get entirely where you're coming from. I agree.
He didn't have a scratch on him.
I agree. Well, no, he actually looked he was in pretty rough shape. He had lots of burn marks and stuff while he was like pulling on the Axelon.
Oh, burn marks. Ooh.
But I do feel, from like a narrative standpoint, the missile launching into him at point blank range was kind of like played for comedy to some degree. Because he's like, ah ha ha ha, I survived it. Oh, I know, a missile. Wah wah wah. It was because it was like presented in a cartoony way, where like Inferno was not really presented in a cartoony way, the way that he was killed off. Even though like logistically, yes, it was a starship destroying missile that like hit him, should have like vaporized him. Like I get it, but for whatever reason, I'm willing to let that one go and be like, yeah, Rampage is fine.
And then Ravage is just in pieces.
Yeah, and then Ravage is dead. Well, what do you think of Optimal Optimus, since this is basically the Optimal Optimus show?
He's cool in a G1 kind of a way. I never really liked their Roadster modes, or like I like Beast Wars.
You like the Beast modes?
Because they're beasts. The fact that they were like physically indistinguishable from animals before is one of the coolest things I thought. Aside from the fact that Waspinator is a gigantic bee, but physically they look like beasts. I like the beast modes way more than these Transmetal or Transmetal 2 modes, to be honest.
You know, I follow like Transformer forums and stuff like that, and like Facebook pages, and it seems like everybody's all on board for Optimal Optimus, and I don't feel like I ever really was. It was almost like too much.
Yeah.
You know, it was like...
But he can fly.
So he's a jet, and he's a tank, and he doesn't really look like a jet or a tank in either mode, and he's a gorilla, but you never really see him in beast mode. But then he just became too powerful and impractical, and they couldn't even like keep consistent with how big he was compared to everyone else. it never felt right to me, I guess. You know? I like the way his face looks better than I like the Transmetal version of him. I loved classic Primal.
My favorite too.
I loved classic
The
Primal.
shoulder pads and the two double-barreled shotgun things on his...
Totally. He wasn't the biggest, he wasn't the strongest. He was above average in a lot of things, but like super skilled and super smart.
Yeah.
And that took him all the way.
Yeah, he could go toe-to-toe with anybody and 90% of the time come out on top.
Because he's a good tactician, and he's strong enough that he can hold his own.
Whereas Megatron's the leader of the Predacons, but he's the biggest Predacon.
And that was always interesting because, like, Megatron and Optimus Prime, the originals, were always the biggest and toughest of their respective teams, where Beast Wars changed that dynamic. Megatron was the toughest and biggest. Optimus Primal wasn't.
No, but he was also an explorer.
He was,
and he doesn't have the spark of leadership.
You know, he wasn't the Prime. No, that's the thing. That was what was kind of cool, is that he wasn't the Prime.
And he rose to the challenge, too, and arguably had a bigger impact on the Transformers universe than even Prime himself.
And now he is kind of a Prime, but he's also not really a Prime.
It's like in between.
I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
I have the same issues, and not just with Beast Wars, but other shows too, like Dragon Ball, for instance. Their power levels just got so absurd. But arguably some of the more interesting episodes revolve around a period in time where everyone's sort of almost on equal footing. And like Goku and like Vegeta are like just a little bit stronger. That is more interesting than having this OP character who can literally steamroll an immortal Transformer and just like take him down.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see how things progress and change from here. So yes, after much deliberation, we're going to give Optimal Situation 3 out of 5 drowning Axelons. Goodbye, Axelon. You served your crew well. You will be missed. I almost feel like I felt more from losing that than I did from losing Scorponok and Terrorsaur. And it was given more screen time.
That's true.
We have a bit of a mixed bag with this episode. You know, it is essential to see so that you are up to speed with what's going on in Season 3. Let us know what you thought of Optimal Situation in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe.
Tell your mom.
And tell your mom. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Wow, 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 wow. Dun, 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 dun. Well, Predacon Paul, thanks for asking. I'll tell you where.
Decepticon Doug, you're welcome for asking. I appreciate the fact that you thanked me